My part of the final project that we're doing is to talk about what vocabulary is, when it should be taught and assessed in the classroom, and why it is important. So, what is vocabulary? Vocabulary is the knowledge of words and word meanings. It can be learned in many different ways, but the main way that we learn vocabulary is through interaction. Things like adult books, children's books, primetime adult television, popular newspapers, magazines. It doesn't have to just be conversation, it's any type of interaction. There are 4 different types of vocabulary: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Listening is the largest part of is our largest part of vocabulary. Just because you hear a word doesn't mean you have to know what it is. So naturally, that's the largest part. It's listening, and then speaking. We can use some words, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we know exactly what they mean. So that's the second largest, and then it moves into reading. We can read words, but again, we don't have to know exactly what they mean. But then when it moves into writing, writing is the smallest, so that's the order from the largest amount of vocabulary to the smallest. But yeah, then writing comes, and you can't use a word unless you know exactly what it means. So that is the smallest category of vocabulary in our minds. There are 3 different levels of vocabulary. There is Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. Tier 1 words are they're just basic speaking vocabulary words. Words like tree or candy or apple or me or you, myself, things that we use every day in conversation. Those are Tier 1 words. Tier 2 words are elaborated versions of those words. An example of a Tier 2 word would be like the Tier 1 word red. The Tier 2 version of that would be crimson. It's a sophisticated synonym of Tier 1 words. Tier 3 words are academic knowledge domain vocabulary. The Tier 3 words are they're the highest level. They're specific to certain topics that you're learning, such as geography. You would use a word like peninsula. That is a Tier 3 word that is subjected to that certain subject. So let's see. Children learn the meanings of words mostly indirectly. That's why we sometimes hear our students say things that only adults would say. They hear it because most of the time their parents are using it, or if they're mean to another child and they use something that a parent would say, it's because they're learning that indirectly. Students also learn vocabulary through being explicitly taught. The I do, we do, you do that we have gone over so many times that is so important in the classroom. That is the best way to learn vocabulary, because it's gradually released. And to learn vocabulary truly, you need to be constantly learning, constantly exposed to it. And developing word consciousness boosts vocabulary learning. And word consciousness is knowing what the words look like. And so yeah, that is what vocabulary. That's just a little overview of what vocabulary is. Why is vocabulary important? Vocabulary is extraordinarily important. It is key to the way that we communicate in all stages of life. It's not just something that you can be taught when you're young and just let it go. Vocabulary it attaches us to the world around us. Without vocabulary and the concept that vocabulary is built upon through those tiers is extremely important. Our society could not continue to grow in intelligence and build upon our current knowledge without vocabulary. Vocabulary is directly linked to success in school. This is because all levels of difficulty and content in the classroom increase. So because of that, the tiers go up. And without that vocabulary that we have, they